Welcome, everybody, back again to another OKD Working Group briefing. Today we have with us Michelle and Christian and myself, and we're going to talk and try and introduce some new concepts around something called OKD Streams. And so I'm going to let Michelle and Christian introduce themselves. I'm Diane Mueller. I'm the co-chair of the OKD Working Group and the Director of Community Development for Red Hat in the hybrid cloud platform. And Michelle?
I'm Michelle Krejci. I'm an engineering manager over at OpenShift.
And I'm Christian Glombek. I am a software engineer on OpenShift.
All right. And Michelle, take it away. Introduce us to this new concept.
Yeah. So today we're excited to be talking about a concept that has been really filling our imaginations. We'd like to talk about OKD Streams. We've been thinking about how do we unlock innovation? How do we get better release signal? How do we enable folks to get involved with OKD? And we want to make this easier and easier. And the concept that has really connected with us as we explore integrating with other OpenShift or open source technologies is this concept of OKD Streams, which we'd like to talk to you about today. So previously, when we referred to OKD, OKD has been a trailing version of OpenShift running on a leading edge version of RHEL, which is FCOS. And that's been the sort of singular pipeline that we think about when we think about OKD. And that's been useful for a lot of for a lot of folks. It's been useful for us to get signal early on to make contributions up into RHEL. Folks have really enjoyed making use of OKD and exploring its functionality, and some folks have even used it in production. But we want to create sort of more varieties and make it easier for folks to play around with all the different configurations and the many upstreams that come in from to OpenShift. So currently, we're excited to offer a OKD running on SCOS, and this OKD will be sort of a future version of OpenShift running on a near future version of RHEL. And that's leveraging CentOS Streams, CoreOS, or SCOS. And for now, that gives us a better signal for RHEL 9 readiness, which is what we're really looking at right now. And it allows us to get input from the community and to really show our work as we explore what that's going to mean for us and all of the exciting features in RHEL 9. And that's built on Operate First and Tecton. I'm going to have Christian explain a little bit more about that in the next slide. But because it's built with those technologies, it really makes it easier for us to explore building many different kinds of pipelines and letting sort of many flowers bloom. So we're looking toward near future of enabling more and more of these builds and pipelines to explore some ideas that we have and get them out to the community, see what folks think about it, to let other community members build their own pipelines. So we're really excited about all the things that we can do. Before we go a little bit more into what we can do, let's just explore this present a little bit more. Christian, could you explain a little bit more about Tecton?
Absolutely, yes. So Tecton is a CD system, essentially, and it enables you to run tasks and pipelines in a very composable and customizable manner. And this really fits in very nicely with our OKD Streams effort, because really the main thing about OKD Streams isn't necessarily the artifacts that are produced, but it's really the pipeline that builds it, and that anybody can really build their own version, their own stream of OKD with this pipeline. So we've been working on a Tecton pipeline to enable this. And yeah, Tecton enable customizable builds. So you have tasks and pipelines that you can customize with parameters, or even the tasks within a pipeline you can exchange or move around and add your own and customize them that way. They are reusable. They run essentially anywhere. You can run them on an OpenShift or OKD cluster. You can run them locally in Kubernetes in Podman, for example. or you can run them on a vanilla Kubernetes cluster. The only thing you really need is a cluster, a Kubernetes cluster. You install Tekton on it, and then you can run your build pipelines there. It's expandable. It's essentially you can add tasks from other projects to your pipeline, expanding them and really customizing them that way. They are standardized, so it's all, once you know one pipeline and one task, you already know the concept of Tekton, which has a Tekton pipeline essentially consists of tasks, and the tasks consist of steps. So the step is really the primitive here, and whether you define multiple steps within a task or multiple steps within a pipeline is up to you in the end. But there is this very standardized manner in which these tasks are created and written. So it's really the learning curve is really great there. It's really easy to get it up and running, and it has quickly become, or it is quickly becoming, the standard for running pipelines or for doing build pipelines. And it is scalable, of course. It's a Kubernetes native project. You can run it on a single node cluster, or even in containers, or you can run it on clusters with hundreds or thousands of nodes.
Yeah, I think I really like this phrase, building blocks, because this is what gets a lot of us excited, sort of thinking about what could be possible. Because really, this space is innovating so quickly that there's no way that we can keep up without and get the kind of feedback that we want from folks with our current release cycle. So an idea that we've been exploring is what if we did all of our work in OKD Streams, we within OpenShift, and from other folks who are looking to build maybe a small version of like a small core OKD, or a pared down version. And with all these building blocks, we can really sort of think about playing with and reconfiguring all kinds of different versions of features, feature configurations and components, and it allows us to be a lot more flexible and composable. And this is a sample. This is not something we're actually exploring, but this is something, or we are exploring. We're not committed to it. What would it look like for us to change our release river and invite more innovation, make it really invite folks to play with these concepts along with us. This is an example of what that might look like. It's important to note why we would consider doing this. There are really three problems that at least I spend a lot of time thinking about, and other folks, my colleagues spend a lot of time thinking about, and that is, how do we improve our release signal? How do we know when something is ready to ship? And Tekton, if we can imagine running all of our OKD streams through a Tekton build, for example, that would give us a dashboard of, imagine if every pipeline had an end-to-end test that said, when these features pass, that means that we have achieved what we wanted to achieve. And imagine if we could look at that dashboard for release readiness signal. Then from the standpoint of folks who are wanting to sort of cut a stable release, they could sort of look at what's ready, or literally what's in the pipeline. And that's a really exciting concept of literally what is in the pipeline, and you could see that view at any time, and that would be a true release signal for us. And it's really important that we get features into the hands of our customers and our partners much faster than we have been able to in the past. This is something we think about a lot. How do we get folks to really touch and feel what's happening and get their feedback and be able to incorporate it in? And with OKD Streams, it's all out there in the open. Everyone can see sort of what we're running, what we're building on Tekton and with Operate Burst. And so we could really get that sort of engagement from folks, as soon as possible. which is, enables more innovation. And currently, this space, like I said, is moving so quickly. We need to tighten those feedback loops as much as possible. And then in terms of how we enable the engineers and other folks around us to do their best work and to feel the freedom to innovate and to demo their work, the open source structure gives us those abilities. This is a sort of picture of a guild, frameworks. Guilds allow engineers to be able to organize themselves from the ground up, so we can discuss ideas as they come up and show our work much more quickly. And we would like to see more of that ground up innovation where we're really enabling and removing blockers from folks to be able to play with ideas and play with configurations and those building blocks. So we want to create more of those forums where everyone is enabled to do their best work and feels the freedom to innovate.
If I may jump in here really quick, on the slide before you had a bar in the graph that symbolizes PROW, and PROW essentially in our current way of doing things mostly has the functionality of a potential or of Tekton pipelines, and PROW does that job really well too. It is just that in PROW, the learning curve is very steep. It's very hard to get things going. PROW doesn't have a big community like Tekton. And we've heard over and over again from our OKD community as feedback that that is the main blocker to really getting involved. And setting up your own PROW system is not something that is oftentimes done in the community or in the broader Kubernetes community even. It's more of a really specialized project. PROW is the project that today runs Kubernetes CI and OpenShift CI. But from our feedback, we have heard that Tekton is just so much more approachable and usable. And in the way we do things today, they essentially have to land in the code base and then they are tested, or they have to land in a PR and then they are tested in PROW. And you can't really do a lot of testing without interfering with other engineers or other teams work that work on OpenShift. So what using Tekton would open us up to is really enabling anyone, whether it be, and we have a lot of internal potential customers for that as well, and interest, really enabling teams or customers or anybody to build their own thing, their own version, stream of OKD with a specific feature or a specific code change they want to test, and essentially put that in an OKD payload that they can then deploy and test in essentially on their own systems without having to interfere or wait for Red Hat engineers to give an okay to test for their code change. So really this would enable anybody to test and deploy their own changes and integrate that with the rest of the OpenShift code base.
Yeah, thanks for highlighting that, Christian. The vision here, I think, would be to take PROW out entirely of the OKD stream pipeline process and enable folks to be able to run their own CI, their own builds. And there might be a reason that OpenShift keeps PROW to maybe gate, what sort of pipelines feed into OpenShift. You could imagine that, and maybe there's some specialized tests that sort of run through there, but that would be sort of in that private space, and not a blocker to that shared space. That's what we really want to.
And that, Michelle, I'm going to just interject, is really one of the things that the community's been asking for, is to create that shared space. With the Operate First cloud, we are able to launch a pipeline that the community can participate in, help support and manage, and then duplicate for things like HPC or specific to OpenStack, or whatever the payload customization needs to be for theirs. Because we do have experiences of people using OKD with FCOS or Fedora CoreOS in production, but they tweak it, right, for whether it's OpenStack or bare metal or whatever it is. But they're doing it all on their own. And they really have asked, and that's been one of the things. So this OKD Streams is really a wonderful thing in terms of getting more community input and feedback quickly into the project without interrupting the productized builds for OpenShift and OpenShift's customers, but getting all the benefits and learning of how to tweak things out and customize it with new features that can then get upstreamed into or downstreamed into the product.
Thanks for highlighting that. So all of this is to say that this is actually an enormous undertaking. This is we're essentially changing the course of a river, and this is a picture of the Chicago River in Illinois in the United States, and in 1900 the Chicago River was reversed, and it is possible. We have done it before, and it's not one person who changes the course of a river. It's a lot of people bought in to, yes, we are going to change the course of a river, and it's a whole system that needs to sort of be bought in to changing its course, and it's not impossible, but it does require that everyone feels, bought in to what we're doing here. It's not something we can do incrementally. You either change it or you don't. We can't partially have a river change. It all changes at the same time. There's no MVPing our way through that, really. Although there's steps we can take: build a canal here, build a dam here, that sort of thing. These are the tools that we would use, the locks and levees and channels that we would use these to support and making this changing the course of this river. We would leverage things like Operate First and Tecton, and of course the CentOS Stream community, and our relationship with Fedora CoreOS would all be part of this this river being reversed. So we want to know what folks think. We want to know what risks folks in the community see. Help us sort of identify maybe our things that are blocking our view. What can't we see? We could use your help identifying what those risks are. And what do you think are milestones? If there are, when I've shown this to folks, to a few folks just to get their feedback, all kinds of ideas were coming up for people. Oh yeah, I've been wanting to explore rebasing on OKD Stream, Kubernetes on OKD Stream first and see what that looks like. Or I want to test this on some hardware. Or I want to, I've been wanting to work on making it easier to build OKD locally. So those would be really good milestones that if folks are interested in naming, and particularly if they're interested in working on to get done, we want to hear what those milestones are. If you have a milestone of, oh yeah, we've always wanted XYZ, if we can do that in OKD Streams, that helps us identify things that we can set up as milestones, so we can unlock things that people are excited to see as we go along. So we're asking for your thoughts. And we'd love particularly help identifying these things that would set us up for success.
If you could, just before you go ahead, there are a couple of milestones that are coming up already. And Christian and a number of the folks inside of Red Hat have been working on an MVP release and some Tecton pipelines as well. So maybe Christian, if you could talk a little bit, and we have recorded videos on both of those things, but just a little quickie on the MVP release and when that's coming, and about the Tecton pipelines themselves.
Absolutely, yes. So our first really big milestone that we are really close to today, and that will hopefully hit by the end of September this year or start of October, is the MVP, minimum viable product release of OKD on CentOS Stream 9 CoreOS. That's a mouthful. It's the short version is OKD on SCOS, and SCOS is the new base operating system that we're building for this. So yeah, that is the first milestone that we're very close to hitting today. So stay tuned for that. And after that, we already have internal customers for the pipeline that want to try out things like replacing machine API with cluster API. And there is, I think, endless opportunities here for also folks from the community. If they have a new component or a new CNI or CSI provider, they want to put that into OKD, they can essentially build their own stream with that feature and test it out. The first big one will be the MVP coming very soon to you.
Okay, and the even what I think is even more interesting news, not that that isn't interesting news, but we are then going to take those first pipelines and put them into Tecton Hub. So we really want to engage with the Tecton community because we are learning, and I'm sure there's other Tecton experts out there who can help us make more efficient pipelines and show us our mistakes and maybe give it a run on their hardware and their cloud platforms too. And that's really one of the things that we're hoping out of this is not just your feedback, but for you to take these things and test them and tell us and give some pull requests against it. And that's the link that you'll see at the bottom of that next slide. We'll give you the link right to, there we go, the GitHub pipeline project. So if you're interested in Tecton pipelines and you have some expertise or just some hardware where you can play and test it on, please take a look at this. And
you can run the pipeline on your laptop, by the way. You can do a scratch build of OKD on your laptop with this.
Yep, so, we walked through that in another video just the other day with Luigi Zuccarelli and Christian, so we'll make that video available too. So there's lots of ways you can test and give us feedback, and we're really looking forward to hearing from you all. So Michelle, what is your most requested thing that you need for people to get involved and get feedback on here? Just the concepts, the idea of it?
So I think everyone that I've shown this to is excited. And at this point, we're building a roadmap. So what's useful in building a roadmap are for folks to ask the hard questions. Have you thought about how you're going to X is useful. Well, the thing that I would worry about the most is why. Those are really useful things for folks to call out. And also, I've always wanted to do ABC. Give us a picture of what's in your head. This helps us, going to the moon is there's a long way from here to the moon. And, we're going to point our rocket ship in that direction, but it's nice to have some stops along the way. So if there's like a space station we can visit or satellites we can launch, or if there's projects we can do on the way to really unblocking folks from innovating and playing with these streams, it's helpful to know what other things we could do. So I'm really keen to hear both what folks see as their as things to be worried about or have wanting to make sure that we've thought about, because as we build this roadmap, we want to make sure that we capture this. And of course, Red Hat really values open decision making. We are really open to diversity of viewpoints here. If there are other ideas or things that we could be, technologies we could be leveraging or ways we could be thinking about this, it's good to have those ideas in now. If folks have alternatives. So really, really curious to know. Of course, if you love this, it's also great to hear it too. It's always good to get a sense of what folks are thinking about.
All right. Well, Christian and Michelle, thank you so much for your enthusiasm and all your support of the community efforts and for helping out drive some faster innovation into both OCP, OKD, RHEL, and a bazillion other open source projects that are part of the OpenShift ecosystem and the cloud native ecosystem. I can just, this is one of those projects that really is a game changer, I think, for lots of communities, internally and externally. I know there's folks out there in the OKD Working Group and in the periphery that haven't spoken up. And we'd love to hear from you, especially if you're currently doing bespoke OKD builds. We want to know if this will help you, and if not, why, and maybe come back to us with how we can make this easier for you so that you're not doing bespoke stuff on your own out there, and can take advantage of some of these Tecton pipelines we're building. So thanks again, everybody, for coming today.